Here.
The minutes from June 1st. Does any of the board members have any comments on those? Please speak up. Hearing none, I'll make a motion to approve the minutes from June 1st. Do I have a second?
This is Dale, and I'll second.
Second by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Okay, the minutes are approved. Public comment. Do we have any public comment? Public comment once, twice. Okay, no public comment. Contracts and awards.
The first item is a tabled item, item number BC 2020-323, Sheriff's Department, recommending an alternative procurement process on various purchase orders, which will result in award recommendations to various providers in the total amount not to exceed $208,000 for emergency off-site medical services for inmates, and it's for the period January 1st, 2017 through December 31st, 2020, for the following providers: A, Cleveland Emergency Medical Service; B, St. Vincent Charity Hospital; C, University Hospital; and D, Fresenius Medical Care.
Good morning, Stephen Witt with the Sheriff's Department. This item was held at the last meeting as there were some questions from council regarding the outstanding invoices. And so we provided that information to the council members. In 2017, there is an outstanding invoice of about $1,800. In 2018, there are 9 invoices totaling about $5,800 of outstanding invoices. And in 2019, there are significantly more that fell in the end of 2019, and thus were not processed before the ERP system went live.
Okay, thank you, Stephen. Are there any questions from the board members on this item?
Yes, I have a question. In the questions and the responses, there was discussion about the wide variance in some cases between the amount that was invoiced and the amount that was actually paid, and it seemed to relate to Medicaid billing authorization, and I would just like if you could elaborate on that a little bit.
To the councilman's question, there's what the hospital's bill is not necessarily what we pay, because we pay the Medicaid approved rate, and this is one of the reasons why the bill is such a discrepancy, is because Medicaid pays a significantly less rate. Just like when your hospital bills you for your health insurance, you pay less rate with your health insurance. I have Mary Akers here who handles these payments, if she wants to elaborate further on that.
Mm-hmm. So I have been going by the Medicaid rates. There's a website for that, and I've been, basically for the hospital claims, I have to look up each code and write down the Medicaid approved rate.
So there was one example that was raised in the questions where the amount invoiced was something like $12,000, and the amount ultimately paid was like $250. What would it account for such an extreme variance?
The hospital can charge any rate that they want for their services, but we can only pay them what Medicaid would cover. So if the hospital decides they want to charge $10,000 for a service that Medicaid's only going to pay $200 for, we have no control over that. But so far we've been paying the Medicaid rates, and we've been doing that for how long?
10 years? Well, at least since I've been in position, 10 years. Yeah.
We've been paying the Medicaid rate for at least 10 years, and this is just how it's been handled.
Okay, thanks.
This is Nan. If I can ask a question?
Sure, go ahead, Nan.
So I too was surprised by the discrepancy in the amount. I understand that they can charge anything they want, but I think in reality, they have to have some rationale as to why they would charge, so much more. I mean, if that was to be charged to a patient, would that bill be $12,800? Is that what we're saying, that is the amount that hospital would have charged someone who's not on Medicaid? And then they would have had to perhaps have their insurance company fight over that and then pay the difference. But that does seem to be an extreme spread, even though we may say they're allowed to charge it. Have we ever, looked into why the discrepancies are so great? Or, they only received $292.76 for a $12,833 charge. You think somewhere there would be some conversation about why there is such a huge difference, but that does not occur?
Not to my knowledge. I don't believe we've reached out to any of these hospitals to find out why they charge so much, but my understanding is that's the rate that they would charge to uninsured patients, and then your insurance pays a different rate and Medicaid pays only a certain amount, and that's just what we've been doing for at least 10 years at this point. But I don't believe anybody's reached out to find out exactly how they come to decide they're going to bill us $23,978 when Medicaid only covers $1,800.
Okay, well, thank you. I appreciate the answer. It's good to know, and that may be something that we should look at down the road. And they're all that same. I don't see Metro on this list. So these are the 4 hospitals that are involved in these particular invoices. Am I correct? Is Metro usually a supplier for this also, but just not in this case?
So we had originally brought Metro forward as one of these hospitals because we do send inmates out to Metro Hospital for hospital treatment and professional services. But we had a new opinion from the law department which indicated that we could pay those Metro claims on the current Metro inmate healthcare contract that we have, as we discussed last week. So when I provided the list of outstanding invoices to the council members and the board members, we did leave Metro on there so that you guys could see the outstanding invoices for Metro, but those will be paid off the contract.
I see. Good. All right. Well, thank you very much. I appreciate the backup and the continuing of the answering our questions. Thank you.
Okay, any final questions from the board members? Hearing none, I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
This is Trevor, second.
Seconded by Mr. McAleer. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item is a 2-part item. Item number, it's new items, as a matter of fact. Item number BC 2020-326, Department of Health and Human Services. A, submitting an RP exemption which will result in an award recommendation to the Cleveland Foundation in the amount not to exceed $100,000 to support the deployment of resources to nonprofit organizations serving on the front lines of the COVID-19 crisis in Cuyahoga County. And it's in connection with the Greater Cleveland COVID-19 Rapid Response Fund, and is for the period June 8th, 2020 through August 31st, 2020, and B, recommending the award in connection with said RP exemption.
Good morning. This is Chris Alexander on behalf of the County Executive's Office. We're requesting approval for a contract with the Cleveland Foundation to contribute to the Greater Cleveland COVID Response Fund. It was established in March, as most of you know, and I appreciate the advanced questions. I hope that they were helpful. The fund is designed to complement the work of public health officials and expand local capacity to address all aspects of the COVID pandemic. They are providing grants on a weekly rolling basis to nonprofit organizations in Cuyahoga County to address the urgent basic human services and economic needs of communities that are most affected by the pandemic. Since the fund's creation in mid-March, they have raised $8.6 million through approximately 2,200 donors. They have made awards to 103 nonprofit recipients, and they have awarded approximately $5.7 million to date. The Health and Human Services levy dollars were initially identified when this request came in March. However, they will now be reviewed by our fiscal department to see if they are, in fact, eligible for CARES Act reimbursement.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions on this item?
If I may ask, Nan Baker,
Sure, go ahead, Dan.
so this is only till August 31st, 2020, and of course, this is now June. Do we expect this to continue? How are you gauging the additional need for funds past August?
So this is initially just a request for a single payment of $100,000. The August date, in the event that we were to add dollars to that, if the executive's office wished to do so, we would not have to enter into a new contract. We could in fact amend this existing one.
Okay, so right now, this is just a one-time request. Okay, thank you.
Are there any further questions on this item? Okay, hearing none, I will make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
This is Dale, I'll second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Thank you.
Next item, item number BC 2020-327, Department of Sustainability, submitting an amendment to an agreement with Cleveland State University for MicroGrid and Clean Energy Development Support Services for the period July 1st, 2019 through June 30th, 2020, to extend the time period to December 31st, 2020, to expand the scope of services to create, provide research, education, and testing for the MicroGrid Center for Excellence. It's effective April 1st, 2020, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $75,000.
Hi, this is Mike Foley from the Sustainability Department. This is work for the MicroGrid project, which we've been working on for the last 2 to 3 years on. So this is an extension of a contract with CSU to put more money into it, also until the end of the year. We're still in the middle of our RFP process. In the fall, we did a request for qualifications for qualified developers. 11 developers applied. 8 were chosen as pre-qualified. They've all agreed that they would bring their own money. So they will be financing and funding the project for this concession agreement with Cleveland Public Power. Over the course of the winter, basically, CPP, Cleveland Public Power, had a kind of a sea change in their leadership, and then COVID-19 hit. So the second phase of the RFP process has been held up, and so we're still walking through the RFP process. The money that we would put in today, assuming it passes, is reimbursable per the original agreements that we've had, so that the developer will, if they get the concession agreement to run the microgrid, one of the things they would have to do is pay us back our pre-development costs. So that's it in a nutshell.
Thank you, Mr. Foley. Are there any questions from the board members on this?
This is Nan Baker. Just one question.
Sure.
The 8 that were chosen, and that's good to hear that you had 8 that have wanted to be engaged in this project. Are any of them, since the COVID-19, hesitant to move forward? Do you see any reluctancy, given the added costs that we are now adding and perhaps will continue to add because of circumstances out of our control?
It's possible. The kind of general consensus, though, is that these are large, really, they're teams of kind of development groups in the energy sector. The belief is that these guys still have a lot of money, and that microgrids are something that they want to invest in the future. So it's possible that 1 or 2 don't move forward on the RFP process, but the belief is that there's still a great interest with these developers.
Okay, then. Thank you for the answer. Thanks, Mike.
Any further questions from the board? Hearing none, I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
This is Dale. I will second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, item number BC 2020-328, Court of Common Pleas, Juvenile Court Division, submitting an amendment to a master contract with various providers for trauma-informed residential treatment services, and is for the period October 1st, 2018 through September 30th, 2020, for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $55,000 for the following vendors: A, Grace Haven, Inc., B, Keystone Richland Center, LLC, doing business as Foundations for Living, C, Ohio Guidestone, D, The Village Network, and E, Youth for Tomorrow New Life Center, Inc.
Good morning, this is Sarah Baker with Juvenile Court. This is an amendment to our trauma-informed residential contract, and this will align this contract with the grant. We had to decrease the funding in our safe space contract so that we could increase the funding in our residential treatment contract. So we're definitely using residential more than the safe space services. So this will bring us in alignment with our grant.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from the board on this? Hearing none, I will make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
This is Dale, second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, item number BC 2020-329, Court of Common Pleas, Juvenile Court Division, recommending an award on a purchase order and enter into an agreement with the City of North Olmsted in the amount not to exceed $8,327.73 for the Community Diversion Program, and it's for the period March 1st, 2020 through December 31st, 2020.
Good morning, Sarah Baker with Juvenile Court again. This is another one of our community diversion program agreements, and it's with the City of North Olmsted, and this is the program that the court utilizes to divert youth away from official court involvement.
Okay, thank you, Sarah. Are there any questions from the board members on this item?
This is Dale, and I'll move approval.
I will second. So it's moved and approved. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, item number BC 2020-330, Sheriff's Department, submitting an amendment to a contract with Alternative Body Connections, LLC, for inmate physical therapy evaluations and treatment services, and is for the period June 24th, 2019 through June 30th, 2020, to extend the time period to December 31st, 2020, and for additional funds in the amount not to exceed $20,000.
Good morning, Tanisha Gakes with the Sheriff's Department. We're requesting approval to amend the current contract with ABC LLC for inmates' physical therapy, treatments, and evaluation. This amendment would add both time and funds. Total time would be 6 months ending December 31st, 2020, and $20,000. We are currently in the process of amending the master contract with Metro to add these services. At the moment, the amendment with Metro is going back and forth between the legal department to be reviewed. This extension would provide us time to complete that process. This contract was bid out March of 2019, and it was sent out to 39 vendors. This vendor was the only one to submit a bid for these services.
Okay, thank you. Are there any questions from the board on this item?
I have one question, Nan Baker.
Sure.
It's noted here on the answer to one of our questions, and this is probably a general question. Per Metro Health, they cannot provide this service unless it is written into the contract. So that means that anything that we find that has not been written into the contract, we will always have to negotiate to put it in. We can't have any services outside the contract. Is that what we're finding out?
That is my understanding. They will not provide any services unless it is written into the contract. So anything that we find that may be new that has not been provided, we would have to amend the contract to get those services added under the Metro master contract.
Okay, well that's interesting. Thank you.
No problem.
Any further questions from the board? Hearing none, I'll make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
This is Trevor, second.
Seconded by Mr. McAleer. All those in favor say aye.
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 Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
Next item, item number BC 2020-331, Court of Common Pleas Corrections Planning Board, recommending an award on a purchase order and enter into an agreement with the Cuyahoga County Public Defender's Office in the amount not to exceed $138,900 for public defender services in connection with the implementation of a high-risk domestic violence court, and it's for the period October 1st, 2019 through September 30th, 2022.
Hello, this is Linda Lagunzad, the Assistant Administrator with the Corrections Planning Board. This agreement relates back to the $1 million grant award received from the Bureau of Justice Assistance back in October of last year. And there's a couple of agreements with county offices. Under this agreement, the Public Defender's Office will receive $46,300 per year for 3 years to provide a dedicated assistant public defender with specialized domestic violence training to defend high-risk domestic violence cases and regularly participate in staffing meetings and court status hearings addressing defendants and their progress with the high-risk domestic violence court program. The Public Defender's Office will annually address 50 unduplicated felony domestic violence cases, or 150 cases over the period of the grant, involved with the docket. And the process for handling the cases will begin at the arrest of a defendant and continue through final disposition or compliance with court orders. The goal for the Public Defender's Office is to ensure that the constitutional rights of offenders participating in the high-risk domestic violence court are protected.
Okay, thank you, Linda. Are there any questions from the board on this item?
Yes, I have a question, which is how do we decide which cases go to the Public Defender's Office, and is the 50 per year sufficient to meet the needs of all the people in this docket that need such assistance, or are there some that we won't be able to get to?
Okay. For the first question regarding eligibility, there's been a planning stakeholder team working with this program for months now, and under the grant proposal there was an agreement that they would develop eligibility criteria for individuals accepted into the program. And obviously strangulation is one of the high-risk factors that will get somebody into the docket. We conducted a data analysis of all individuals that could potentially be a part of this program before we submitted the application. And we think that for the criteria that we have developed, these really high-risk cases that are dangerous lethality cases, we believe we'll be able to hit 50 a year. Time will tell whether we have more cases than that, and as the court needs to grow as a result of it. So under the grant and the funds that we have received to give the best level of service to the program, we only can address 50 individuals per year. So the funding is limited, but again, time will tell in terms of productivity, what else data is produced. So I believe I may have answered both your questions there, sir.
Okay, so by way of follow-up, if the 50 cases is not enough, how do we make sure that the rights of the other people are protected?
So for those individuals who do not participate in the high-risk domestic violence court, they continue, to be handled through the court system, the Public Defender's Office, all the usual court measures that have been in place up to this time will continue. So the difference is that these individuals in this program are given more services, attention, to ensure that the victims are protected and that the offenders also are able to address their issues as well.
Okay, thanks.
You're welcome.
Are there other questions from the board?
I have one question, Ann Baker.
Sure.
Thank you. On the backup material, which we just got a week ago, it said that we expect this to continue in March, April 2020. But in the answers that we got back, it looks like we're now going to be expected to start August, September. Is there a reason why we put March, April just a week ago, and now we're in August, September?
Well, I think that's just part of the whole ERP license system process because we've been through this learning curve, you know, in our office and, you know, getting documents into the system. So that was just an oversight and not going back to the briefing memo or whichever document that was in. And so those documents have been in there for weeks, going back and forth to make sure everything is going smoothly through the process, through the system. So in that time, the Domestic Violence Court has been meeting with Judge Madej and her team and have determined, you know, with COVID happening and all of that, that we just have to extend this process out for a couple more months, unfortunately. But they are on top of it. They are planning and, you know, they anticipate to move forward then.
Okay, so you're confident in the August, September start date?
Well, I'm not speaking on behalf of Judge Madej, but this is my understanding from the coordinator and participating in some of these, you know, some of these planning meetings. That is the intent at this time.
Thank you very much.
Okay,
Okay.
thank you. Any final comments from the board? Hearing none, then I will make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
This is Trevor.
That was second by Councilwoman Baker. Councilwoman Baker.
I think I did get in there first.
I do too. All right, so that's second by Councilman. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Item approved. Next item.
We're moving
Thank
on.
you.
We're moving on to the consent agenda. Item numbers BC 2020-332 through 333.
Please take a minute here. Unless you have a comment, you can speak up at any time. Are there any comments from the board or questions? Okay, hearing none, then I will make a motion to approve. Do I have a second?
This is Dale, second.
Seconded by Councilman Miller. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Consent agenda is approved. Moving on.
We don't have any other business. Do we have public comment at this time?
Public comment going once, twice, 3 times. No public comment. With that being said, then I will make a motion to adjourn. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second. This is Trevor, second.
Seconded by Mr. Macular. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? We're adjourned. Thank you, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Bye, everyone.
Sorry, Lee.